Hello everyone, this is the kind of video notes on our 4.2 on your own questions, also our exit ticket from last Friday. So how you can use this, most of you should have at least the first row finished, some have started the third row. Please use this video to check your answers for those, or if you struggled with some, get a little extra help to finish those on your own questions. So starting with question number 2, or the first row, we have a list of ordered pairs. In that list, we need to identify our domain and our range. The domain is all of the x values. So in each ordered pair, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the first coordinate, which represents those x values that we have. With those, when we write our domain, we are listing out each of those values. Couple rules: we have to list them from least to greatest, and if we have any repeats, we do not have to list them twice. So for this, I am going to start with -2 is the smallest, then we have -1, then we have 0, 2, and 5. We use those kind of weird fancy brackets at the end to close off our list. Now I'm going to list the range that we have, and the range are the y values. So those are the second values or numbers in each ordered pair that we have listed. Following the same rules, you do need to list them least to greatest, and then you don't have to repeat if you have any of those. So looking at these ones, the smallest number that I have in my domain is -4. That looks like we have -3, -2, -1, and a +4. Okay. So that is listing out the domain, the x values, and the range y values for those ordered pairs. The next way that we can represent this relation is with a table. In that table of values, we're basically just rewriting each ordered pair in a row in that table. The x values should always go on the left, and the y values, or our range, always go on the right. So listing this first pair, -2, -3. We can see that in there, and then going on, -1, 4, 0, -2, 2, -4, and 5, -1. Okay. After we have our table, we have our domain and range listed separately. Now we are going to do a mapping diagram, which is what these two ovals are. With our mapping diagram, the first oval represents the numbers in our domain, and the second oval represents the numbers in our range. When we are listing these, we follow the same rules here, least to greatest, and if we had any repeats, you don't have to rewrite them. So I'm going to list my domain first, starting with -2 and -1. And it helps to write them going vertically up and down, because then when we are matching and drawing lines, it becomes a little bit easier. Then my range, we're going to have -4, -3, -2, -1, and 4. Now the matching part comes in. So I'm going to look at my table, and I'm going to start with that -2. When I had a domain of -2, that went with a range of -3. So I'm going to connect those two with a line. -1 matched with 4. 0 matched with -2. 2 matched with -4. And 5 matched with -1. Okay, and there's our mapping diagram for this relation. The last way to represent this relation is in a coordinate grid. This is your x-axis and your y-axis. Your x-axis, or your x-coordinate, tells you how much left and right. Your y value tells you how much up and down. So we're going to plot each point on our coordinate grid. So our first point, -2, 3, starting at the origin, left 2, and -3 is down 3. So there's our first coordinate. -1, 4 is going to be down, or left 1, up 4. 1, up 4. 0, -2, staying at the origin and then just going down 2 and 2, -4, right 2, down 4, and 5, -1, right 5, and down 1. Okay. And there's our coordinate grid to represent a relation. So we have our ordered pairs, we have a list of our domain and range, we have a table of our domain and range, a mapping diagram, and a coordinate grid. Looking at question number or row number 3, we have to start a little bit differently. We have to start with the graph first. So in this graph, we are going to take each point and come up with the ordered pair for those first, and then we can put them into the different lists that we have. And I'm actually going to take the coordinates and write them right on the graph and then write them in my lists. So starting with this one, X coordinate first, so we have to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. So +4, +2. This point here, we're at 0, and we just go down 3. So 0, -3. This point here is 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, -5, -2, and then up 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -4. -5, -4. Okay. It's up to you where you want to start with these now. Just because it fits on my screen, I could take these points and put them right into our table. So I'm going to start with the X value, or the domain value that is the smallest out of all of my pairs, and then I'm going to go up from there. So I'm going to start with this one with -5, 4, or -5, -4. And then we have a -2, 3. Then my next point, 0, -3. 2, -5. And 4, 2. Okay. Now what we can do, we can go back over here and we can list our domain and we can list our range separately. I can rewrite each of my ordered pairs in a list like I had above if I needed to. Right now I'm just going to list that domain. So all of those X values, least to greatest, no repeats. So that would be that -5, -2, 0, 2, and 4. Okay. And then our range values, or the Y values that we have, again, least to greatest with no repeats. So the smallest Y value in my list is actually a -5. And then we have a -4. Then it's -3. Then 2, and then +3. Now that we have those listed separately, the last thing we're going to represent this relation by is our mapping diagram. Remember, the first oval is the domain, second is the range. So listing out our domain values first, going vertically up and down, -5, -2, 0, 2, and 4, -5, -4, -3, 2, and 3, and then using our table to help us come up with those matches that we have. So -5 went with -4, oops, and -2 went with 3, 0 went with -3, 2 with -5, and 4 with 2. So now we have our 4 complete sets to represent this relation. I do have ordered pairs. We have the coordinate grid, our mapping diagram, our table, and our list of our domain and range.